Hello, and welcome to an abrasive episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, Jake Creeley out of Buffalo, New York. Jake runs a company called Ashford Drywall and happens to be one of the largest companies we've had on the show. We talk about that, and we talk about his real estate endeavors. Oh, and we also talk about a little invention he created called the Spy Sponge.
So when we first, gave it to our tapers, I'm trying to think, it was probably almost a year before we launched, and I wanted them to beat it up, which they did.
Smart.
A lot of them don't take care of their tools, so it was a good sample test. And we didn't even let them know that it was anything that I created.
Smart.
Yeah, we just handed it to them and said, "Hey, we bought it offline." One of the drywall.
Check this out.
Yeah, we bought it offline because we didn't want them looking. We wanted to get honest feedback, and we had, I would say, probably at least 60% that really love the product. Then we always had, I would say, at least another 30% that were just kind of like, well, it's not bright enough. Oh, it's too bright and it shows too much of my work. Hey, can you make the lights dual on both sides? Which I knew that was something I was going to do, but I wanted to launch with this product first.
Jake has received an utility patent for the Spy Sponge, and we discuss a little bit of that as well. This month's podcasts are brought to you by Platformer Solutions. You can listen to me talk with Shane Larson about the Platformer on episode 16 of the Drywall Podcast. Don't sacrifice your life with knockoffs or 2x4s out of the dumpster. Go with the name that started it all, the Platformer. Ask your local distributor or order online at www.platformersolutions.com. In fact, if you order in the month of February and use promo code PODCAST, you can get $100 off your order. The Drywall Podcast is also brought to you today by Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. Now available online at www.csrbuilding.com. Guests of the Drywall Podcast will receive a swag bag from CSR, including all kinds of cool stuff. I really enjoyed this conversation with Jake on the 39th podcast of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. Lots of people do it on their phone. We've got Jake Creeley. Creeley?
Yep.
Jake Creeley, Spy Sponge out of Buffalo, New York on the Drywall Podcast today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show today. What are we going to talk about, Jake?
Spy Sponge. Spy Sponge.
The Spy Sponge. Maybe a little bit of history, how you got into this wacky trade, marketing a new product. You do some stuff with real estate. We can go all over the place. One thing I like to start out with is you've listened to a couple podcasts now.
Yep.
You were a little slow to come on board. I met one of your ambassadors at CSR Black Friday event in Toronto. But prior to that, I had seen the Spy Sponge, thought it was a great idea. Put a light into a sponge, lights up the wall as I'm sanding, pretty self-explanatory. And I was talking to your guy up there at CSR. I forget who was that?
Oh, that's Tom.
Tom. So very nice guy, did a great job with sales, all that. And I was like, dude, who do I talk to? I want to talk to like the Spy Sponge guy. Let's dig down in and get to the bottom of this Spy Sponge, see where you came from, where you're going, all of that good stuff. So did you say you were second generation drywaller?
Yeah, second generation. Yep.
Okay. So your dad was a drywaller.
Yeah, so my grandfather was a plasterer, but he he worked for a company around here for the longest time, then was into drywall. As that transition from plaster to drywall. And then my father started his business back in the late 70s, early 80s. And then right around the late 90s is when I jumped on board. Been on the job, scrapping houses, fire taping, cleaning tools, cleaning buckets since I was a kid. And just knew the trade, walking on stilts probably when I was like 10, 11, when kids, were allowed on, not allowed, but they were on the jobs, and just learned the trade that way, where you traditionally do, either through family members or friends. And honed in my skills through high school and out of college. And then I got on board and actually had my own crews that I ran, and then decided to really take the business to the next level and grow the business in this area. So
how so? What do you mean take it to the next level? I mean, you seem, just from our talks on the phone, you seem pretty business savvy. Where did your dad have the business? And when you took it over, where did you want to take the business? What did you think you could do with this crazy drywall business? And was that Ashford Drywall?
Correct. Ashford Drywall. Yep.
Okay.
So, when you get in this business, it's any business, especially drywall, they're tough businesses to maintain, manpower, service, competitive pricing, as well as finding the best craftsmen around. And so, I was able to work with different ways on how we recruit, make sure that we're paying them premium compared to our competitors, and to make sure that we are not sacrificing quality while also offering production. And so then we started to expand into other parts of New York, where we're in Rochester, Syracuse. We even work in Pennsylvania a little bit. That's not too far. And
wow. So you like the idea of growing. You like the idea of did you have a direction, or was it like, let's see how big I can make this?
It was never about like, I want to conquer the world or conquer this area. It was building a business to where we could find good, reputable companies to work for, whether they were builders or general contractors that do apartments, office buildings, you name it. So spreading out allowed us to really hunt down and find those companies that were good to work for, and ultimately that we're willing to pay for what we're offering. We're not looking to scale. We're in this area because Buffalo is still a smaller market for a big for a big city compared to your Atlantas and Carolinas. That's where we've also jumped into real estate development that we're doing in Tennessee, near Nashville. And so we have a lot of key people now in our business where we're not scaling. We're just maintaining what we have, which is a lot, and we feel we're maxed out. So
okay, because you're doing this real estate thing too. Tell me a little bit about that, and how did you get into that? So you were like, screw the drywall deal, I want to do this side hustle over here and buy. There's money in real estate. How did you get into that? I mean, did you know about real estate, or you have a friend? How did that work?
We know quite a few people that are developers just through the business of drywall. And with drywall, it's always something that you're not getting paid on that last house or that last commercial job or apartments that you did. You get paid once. And so building, residual income has always been something my father and I wanted to do, but, we had to build a business and put together some money and try to keep advancing, the company. What was your first
real estate thing?
So, believe it or not, is in Tennessee is going to be our first project. We've done a lot of smaller ones and then we've sold them off. But, New York is a tough state to work in. Taxes are high. Not a lot of people moving here, if any. Okay. So we wanted to, at least with developing apartments, we knew that we could get into other markets. We picked Tennessee near Nashville. We really like their policy, taxes, so on and so forth. So we have a large project that we're going to start building down there. And that's taken a lot of my time between the two, which we've had going, we've had in place for probably the last 3-4 years prior to even, Spy Sponge coming around.
You've got quite a curve on that bill. You don't see people wear it like that too much anymore. I like it. Yeah. It's like throwback.
I play a lot of baseball.
Throwback to the 80s. I dig it. Yeah. That's a baseball. That's more of a baseball style. Why Tennessee?
We love the market. It's growing really fast. No state income tax.
Where at exactly?
Well, we're in the south. I think it's the southwest, just south of Spring Hill, Franklin, and Brentwood, in the town of Columbia. That is actually growing substantially. Off the one exit that we're off of, we probably have about 26 acres to build multifamily, and they've probably got 4 subdivisions where they're building homes of over probably 800 lots. And that's just in that town. And that doesn't include other areas. So there's a lot of growth. There's no state income tax. The property taxes are low. A lot of opportunity, good paying jobs. And it seems to be that's their game plan. And to build apartments, you want to you want to be in areas that are growing and have a good game plan to continue to grow.
Interesting. That's fascinating. So are you married? Do you have kids?
Yeah. So I'm married to my wife, Lindsay. We just celebrated our 11-year anniversary not too long ago.
Congrats.
I've been with her. Thank you. And I got 2 little kids. I got a 4-year-old daughter, Lydia, and I got a 6-year-old son, Cameron. So
nice. How do you have time to breathe with all this stuff going on? You probably like that hustle and bustle.
Yeah, so it's my family's always first, but we have the work, we have our vision of where we want to be, but I really don't have hobbies other than working out in the mornings, and that's it. I work, come home, spend time with the family. So
we talked about that a little bit. I worked out this morning. I went earlier than I normally do. I normally go later after I drop my kid off, but I went earlier, had her drop the kid off. I liked it. It's different. It's more disciplined to get up early, but it gets it out of the way quicker. You have more day left. So you're very busy and you are cruising through life. You're building this business. You're building houses. Got kids, wife, all this stuff, and you're like, there needs to be a better light sponge out there. How did that lightning bolt, no pun, come and hit you? What was the original? I always like it when it's like, I love the like zygote of the idea where you're like you're sanding away, you're full of dust, or at least somebody is, and you're like, God, there should be a light in those things, man. Did you just grab one and drill out a couple of holes and stick a mag light in them?
Well, to kind of give you the short version,
you can listen to this entire interview over at Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and even YouTube. This entire video will drop as well. Join us every Friday with a new episode. This month's podcasts are brought to you by Platformer Solutions. You can listen to me talk with Shane Larson about the Platformer on episode 16 of the Drywall Podcast. Don't sacrifice your life with knockoffs or 2x4s out of the dumpster. Go with the name that started it all, the Platformer. Ask your local distributor or order online at www.platformersolutions.com. In fact, if you order in the month of February and use promo code PODCAST, you can get $100 off your order. The Drywall Podcast was also brought to you by Fresco Harmony. Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. If you would like information about the podcast, Fresco Harmony, or anything, you can get in touch with me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. Thank you so much for joining the Drywall Podcast today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and remember, keep drywalling.